Princess Lyra stood by the tall window in the palace tower and looked at the stars above her world. Her hand shook a little as she held the data pad that told her about the humans who would arrive tomorrow. She had read the information 20 times already, but it did not make her feel better. The Valthene people were known across many star systems for being calm and wise. They could share thoughts with each other without speaking. They never raised their voices or showed strong feelings. Lyra's people believed that keeping your emotions hidden was the most important skill anyone could learn. But Lyra was different. She could not hide what she felt. When she was scared, her skin glowed with blue light. When she was happy, gold patterns moved across her arms. When she was nervous, which was most of the time, her whole body flickered like a broken light. Her mother, the Empress, often said that Lyra was too sensitive for her own good. You must learn control. Her older sister Serana always told her, a princess cannot show weakness. But Lyra had tried for 23 years, and she still could not stop her feelings from showing on her skin for everyone to see. Now the humans were coming. Real humans from the planet called Earth. They had only made contact with the Valthene Empire 6 months ago, and already they wanted to meet face to face. The Empress had chosen Lyra to be their guide and helper during their stay. Lyra knew why. This job was not very important, and her mother hoped she would not embarrass the family if she was just showing aliens around the palace. The data pad showed her pictures of the human ship. It was called the ESS Horizon, and it looked nothing like Valthene ships. Where Valthene vessels were smooth and crystal-like, the human ship was covered in metal plates and had weapons visible on its sides. The report said humans had just finished a war with a species called the Krill. The humans had won. Lyra felt her skin flicker blue. A species that made war, a species that fought and killed. And tomorrow she would have to stand in the same room with them and not show her fear. She tried to practice her breathing like her teacher had shown her. In and out, slow and steady. Think calm thoughts. Imagine still water. It helped a little, but her patterns still moved across her skin in nervous waves. The next morning came too quickly. Lyra wore her formal robes, the ones made of white silk that covered most of her glowing skin. She stood in the landing area with her mother and sister and many other important Valthene officials. Everyone else looked perfectly calm. Their skin showed no emotion at all. The human ship landed with a loud noise that made Lyra jump. Her sister gave her a sharp look and Lyra tried to stand still. A door opened in the side of the ship and humans began to walk down a ramp. They looked so strange. They had no glow to their skin at all. They wore dark blue uniforms that covered their bodies. And they were so solid-looking, so heavy and real in a way that made Lyra's people seem almost like ghosts next to them. The human in front was a woman with dark hair pulled back tight. She walked straight to the Empress and bowed her head. Your Majesty, I am Ambassador Lisa Chen. On behalf of humanity and Earth, we thank you for welcoming us. The Empress smiled slightly. We are pleased to learn more about your people. Lyra watched as the ambassador and her mother talked. But then she noticed another human standing behind the ambassador. He was tall, with short brown hair and kind eyes. He wore the same uniform as the others, but his had extra marks on the shoulders. He was looking around at everything with interest, and then his eyes met Lyra's. He smiled at her. It was a warm smile, friendly and open. Lyra felt her skin flash gold before she could stop it. She quickly looked down at her feet, mortified. When she dared to look up again, the human was still watching her. But now he looked curious instead of just friendly. After the official greetings were done, the Empress told Lyra to come forward. This is my daughter, Princess Lyra. She will be your cultural liaison during your stay. The ambassador nodded. Wonderful. This is Lieutenant Jake Morrison. He'll be working with your princess as our security escort and cultural exchange partner. Jake stepped forward and held out his hand. Lyra stared at it, confused. Was this a human greeting? She had read about handshakes, but seeing one in real life was different. You're supposed to shake it, Jake said gently. His voice was deeper than Valthene voices, and it seemed to go right through her. Lyra slowly reached out and put her hand in his. His hand was warm and rough and much larger than hers. He moved their hands up and down twice, then let go. The whole thing lasted only a few seconds, but Lyra's skin lit up like a festival display. Golden pink patterns raced across every bit of visible skin. Sorry, she whispered. I cannot help it. Help what? Jake asked. The lights. The colors. They show what I feel. I am supposed to control them, but I cannot. Jake looked at the patterns on her skin with interest. That's actually really cool. So right now, those colors mean you're happy? Nervous, Lyra corrected quickly. And embarrassed. And confused. And yes, a little happy maybe. She felt her skin flash even brighter and wanted to disappear, but Jake just smiled again. Well, I'm pretty nervous too, so I guess we're even. This is my first time meeting aliens. Sorry, I know you don't like being called aliens on your own planet. My first time meeting Valthene people. Something about the way he admitted being nervous made Lyra feel a tiny bit better. She had expected humans to be confident and loud and scary, but Jake seemed almost as unsure as she was, even if his skin could not show it. I will show you where you will stay, Lyra said quietly. Follow me, please. She led Jake and two other humans through the crystal corridors of the palace. The other humans were named Maya and Ben, and they seemed nice too, but Lyra barely noticed them. She kept being aware of Jake walking beside her. He was so close. He moved differently than Valthene people did. His steps were heavier, more solid. When he turned his head to look at something, his whole body moved. Everything about him was more real, more present. These halls are beautiful, Jake said. Is the whole palace made of crystal? Yes, Lyra said. It was grown, not built. It took 300 years. Grown? Like a plant? Similar. We use living crystal. It responds to our thoughts and grows the way we want it to. Jake reached out like he wanted to touch the wall, then stopped. Is it okay if I touch it? Yes, of course. He pressed his palm against the crystal. Wow, it's warm. Lyra had never thought about it before. The walls had always been there, always been warm. But seeing Jake discover it for the first time made her notice it again. The crystal is alive, she explained. Just a little bit. Enough to stay warm and to glow when it is dark. That's amazing. Jake looked at her with genuine interest. Is your skin the same? Is that why it glows? Yes, all Valthene have bioluminescent skin. We evolved on a world with long, dark seasons. The glow helped us find each other. And the colors changing with emotions? How does that work? No one ever asked Lyra questions like this. Most Valthene already knew the answers, and those who did not know did not care. But Jake seemed truly interested. She found herself explaining how the color changes worked, about the special cells under her skin, about how thought and feeling affected the light. Jake listened to every word. He asked more questions. He wanted to know everything. And slowly, very slowly, Lyra felt her nervous blue glow start to fade. The gold colors stayed warm and steady. By the time they reached the guest rooms, Lyra had almost forgotten to be scared. Jake made it easy to talk to him. He did not make fun of her glowing skin. He did not seem bothered that she was shy and quiet. He just treated her like a normal person who happened to look different than him. Thank you for showing us around, Jake said when they stopped at his door. I think we're going to get along great. Lyra felt her skin flash bright gold again. I hope so, she said softly. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived, and Lyra's life had changed in ways she never expected. Every day she spent hours with Jake, helping him understand Valthene culture and learning about human ways in return. They walked through gardens together, shared meals, and talked about everything from music to mathematics. Lyra still could not control her glowing skin around Jake. Every time he smiled at her, gold light spread across her arms. When he accidentally brushed against her hand while reaching for the same datapad, her whole body lit up like sunrise. But Jake never made her feel bad about it. He said it was beautiful and he meant it. She could tell he meant it because humans did not lie well. Their faces showed everything. Her sister Serana did not approve. You spend too much time with that human, she told Lyra one evening. People are talking. They say you have feelings for him. I am just doing my job, Lyra said, but her skin glowed pink, which meant she was lying, and they both knew it. Serana shook her head. Be careful, little sister. Humans are dangerous. They make war. They destroy things. That is not our way. But Lyra had learned that humans were more complicated than that. Yes, Jake had fought in a war. He had told her about it during one of their long talks. He had lost friends. He had been scared. But he had also protected people who could not protect themselves. He had saved lives. Was that really so different from what any good person would do? Today was a special day. The Empress was hosting a formal dinner for the human delegation at the embassy building in the capital city. All the important Valthene officials would be there, along with all the humans from the ship. Lyra wore her finest robes. deep blue with silver thread, and she tried very hard to keep her skin from showing any colors at all. Jake wore his formal uniform, which was black with gold buttons. He looked very handsome, though Lyra tried not to think about that too much. When he saw her, he smiled and said, "You look great." Her skin immediately glowed gold and pink. So much for staying calm. The embassy was a tall building made of the same living crystal as the palace. The dining hall was on the top floor with huge windows that showed the whole city spread out below. Hundreds of lights glowed in the darkness. It was beautiful. Lyra sat at the long table between Jake and her mother. Ambassador Chen sat across from them, talking with the Empress about trade agreements. Maya and Ben sat further down the table with other officials. Everyone was being very polite and proper. Jake leaned close to Lyra and whispered, "Is it always this formal?" "Only for special occasions," she whispered back. "Do you ever just have fun? Dance, play games, tell jokes?" Lyra thought about it. "Not really. We meditate. We discuss philosophy. We create art that requires mental discipline." Jake made a face. "That sounds exhausting." Despite herself, Lyra smiled. Her skin flickered with warm gold light. "Maybe a little." The dinner went on for 2 hours. 7 courses of food were served, each one more elaborate than the last. Speeches were made. Toasts were offered. Lyra was starting to relax when she noticed something odd. One of the Valthine servants near the door was not glowing at all. His skin was completely dark, which was very unusual. Before she could think more about it, the lights went out. All of them, even the natural glow from the crystal walls. The room was completely black. Someone screamed. Then there was a loud explosion that shook the floor. Glass shattered. Lyra felt hands grab her and pull her down. "Stay down." It was Jake's voice, rough and commanding in a way she had never heard before. "Everyone stay down." More explosions came from somewhere below them. Lyra heard gunfire, though she had never heard such sounds before except in recordings. Her skin flashed bright blue with terror, providing the only light in the room. "Lyra, I need you to calm down if you can," Jake said. He was crouched in front of her, his body between her and the door. "Can you make your skin stop glowing?" "We need darkness," she tried, but fear made it impossible. She was shaking all over. "Okay, it's okay," Jake said. His voice was gentler now. "Just stay behind me." The emergency lights came on, dim and red. Lyra could see that the door had been blown open. Armed figures were coming through it, wearing masks and carrying weapons. They were Valthine, but they moved like soldiers. "Like warriors, get the humans," one of them shouted. Jake moved so fast that Lyra barely saw it. He grabbed a chair and threw it at the first attacker, hitting him in the chest. Then Jake was across the room, taking the weapon from the stunned attacker's hands and using it to strike another attacker in the head. Maya and Ben were fighting too. Maya moved like water, flowing around attacks and striking with perfect accuracy. Ben was not as graceful, but he was strong and determined. The human ambassador was helping other people get to cover, but there were too many attackers. They kept coming through the door, more and more of them. They were shooting at the humans with energy weapons that left burn marks on the walls. Jake was hit. Lyra saw the energy beam catch him in the shoulder, burning through his uniform. He fell to one knee but did not stop moving. He fired back with the weapon he had taken, protecting a group of Valthine officials who were frozen in fear. Lyra wanted to help, but she did not know how. Her people did not fight. They did not even have words for some of the things happening in front of her. All she could do was watch as Jake took another hit, this time to his leg, and still he did not stop. "Why are you doing this?" She heard herself cry out to the attackers. "Why do you want to hurt them?" One of the attackers turned to look at her. "We are saving our people from corruption. Humans are violent animals. They will destroy our peaceful way of life. We will prove it by showing everyone what they really are. You are the violent ones." Lyra shouted, and she was surprised by the anger in her own voice. "They are protecting us from you." The attacker laughed. "Look at yourself, princess." Glowing like a child who cannot control her feelings. "This is what happens when we allow humans into our world. They make us weak." Jake appeared behind the attacker and struck him down with efficient, brutal force. Then he grabbed Lyra and pulled her behind a table that had been knocked over. "Are you hurt?" "No, but you are." She could see blood on his uniform. "So much blood. You need medical help." "Later. Right now I need to keep you safe." He looked at her with eyes that were hard and focused in a way that should have been scary but somehow was not. "Can you get to that side door? The one near the corner?" "Yes, but take your mother and as many others as you can. Get to the lower levels. There should be security coming up. Find them and tell them what is happening. What about you?" "I will hold them here. Me and my team. We will give you time to get away." "No." Lyra felt panic rising in her chest. "You will die." Jake smiled, and even now, even covered in blood and surrounded by enemies, it was a warm smile. "Maybe, but that's what humans do. We protect people who need protecting, even if it costs us everything." Before Lyra could argue, more attackers came through the door. Jake pushed her toward the side exit and then turned to face them. She saw him raise his weapon, saw him stand tall despite his wounds, saw him put himself between danger and everyone else, and she understood. This was what Serana had called dangerous. This was what her people feared about humans. Not that they were violent for no reason, but that they would face any danger, accept any pain, do anything necessary to protect others. It was a kind of courage her people did not have because they had never needed it. Lyra wanted to stay with Jake, but she knew he was right. She had to get her mother to safety. She gathered the Empress and several officials and led them to the side door. As they escaped into the corridor, she looked back one last time. Jake was still standing, still fighting. His team fought beside him. 3 humans against dozens of attackers, and somehow they were winning. Lyra's skin glowed bright gold, so bright it lit up the whole hallway. It was not fear anymore. It was something else. Something her people did not have a word for because they had forgotten how to feel it. It was pride. It was admiration. It was the beginning of something deeper than she had ever felt before. She led the others down the stairs, and behind her she could still hear the sounds of battle. She prayed to God she barely believed in that Jake would survive. Because somewhere in the last 3 weeks the nervous princess had fallen in love with the human warrior, and she could not imagine a world without him in it anymore. The attack had lasted only 12 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime to Lyra. By the time security forces arrived and subdued the attackers, 3 humans had been wounded, and Jake had been hurt the worst. He had taken 4 direct hits from energy weapons and several other injuries from hand-to-hand combat. The medical team said he was lucky to be alive. Lyra did not feel lucky. She felt scared and angry and confused. She sat outside the medical center, her skin flickering between blue and dark purple, while doctors worked on Jake inside. Her mother sat beside her, which was unusual. The Empress rarely showed such open concern for anyone. "You care about him?" the Empress said quietly. It was not a question. "Yes," Lyra admitted. There was no point in lying. Her skin told the truth anyway. "He is very brave. All the humans are. They saved many lives tonight. They almost died saving us." The Empress was quiet for a moment. "I have been thinking about what the attackers said. They called humans dangerous and violent. They said humans would corrupt our peaceful way. They were wrong," Lyra said fiercely. "The attackers were the violent ones. Perhaps. Or perhaps they were right, but they misunderstood what violence means." The Empress looked at her daughter. "We Valthine have not fought a war in 3,000 years. We have not needed to, but we have also forgotten something important. We have forgotten that sometimes violence is not evil. Sometimes it is the only thing standing between innocent people and those who would harm them." Lyra looked at her mother in surprise. She had never heard the Empress talk like this before. "The humans showed us something tonight," the Empress continued. "They showed us that strength and gentleness can exist in the same person. That courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Your Lieutenant Morrison was terrified tonight. I could see it in his eyes. But he still stood and fought. How did you know he was scared? Because only a fool feels no fear when facing death. And he is no fool." The door to the medical center opened and a doctor came out. Lyra jumped to her feet, her skin bright with anxious blue light. "Is he okay? Is Jake okay?" "The human will survive," the doctor said. "His body is remarkably resilient. The wounds were serious, but he is stable now. However, he will need at least 3 days of rest before he can leave the medical pod." Relief washed through Lyra so strongly that her entire body glowed gold. "Can I see him?" "Not yet. He needs to remain in the healing sleep, but you may visit tomorrow." Lyra did not sleep that night. She sat in her room and thought about everything that had happened. She thought about Jake throwing himself in front of danger. She thought about the warmth of his smile and the gentleness in his voice when he talked to her. She thought about how alive she felt when she was near him, how he made her want to be braver than she was. The next morning, she went to the medical center as soon as visiting hours began. Jake was in a private room lying in a healing pod that looked like a crystal cocoon. His eyes were closed and monitors showed his vital signs. The wounds on his shoulder and leg were already starting to heal, thanks to Valthene medical technology. Lyra sat in a chair beside the pod and watched him sleep. She did not know what to say, so she just sat there, her skin glowing soft gold in the quiet room. She visited him every day. On the second day, she brought him a datapad loaded with books about Valthene history, even though he could not read them yet. On the third day, she brought flowers from the palace garden, the kind that glowed in the dark. On the fourth day, Jake woke up. His eyes opened slowly, and he looked around in confusion. Then he saw Lyra sitting beside him, and he smiled. "Hey, hey," she said back. Her skin immediately lit up with gold and pink patterns. "How long was I out?" 3 days. The doctor said you needed time to heal." Jake looked down at himself. The healing pod had been opened now that he was awake. He was wearing a simple white medical gown and bandages covered his shoulder and leg. "I feel pretty good, actually. Your medicine is amazing." "You almost died," Lyra said. Her voice shook a little. "You could have run away with us, but you stayed and fought." "That is my job," Jake said simply. "Your job is to die for people you barely know?" "My job is to protect people who need protecting. Sometimes that means risking my life, but I did not do it alone. Maya and Ben were there too. Ambassador Chen helped people escape. We are a team." Lyra shook her head. "I do not understand humans." "You are so fragile. Your bodies break so easily, but you face danger anyway." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Can I tell you a story?" "Yes." "When I was young, maybe 7 years old, I lived in a small town on Earth. One day, a fire started in our neighbor's house. Everyone ran outside to watch, but the neighbor's daughter was still inside. She was only 5. Her parents were screaming, trying to get back in, but the fire was too hot." Lyra listened, her skin shifting to concerned blue. "My father did not hesitate," Jake continued. "He ran into that burning house. He found the little girl and carried her out. His hands were burned. His hair was singed. He breathed in smoke and had to go to the hospital. But he saved her life. Your father sounds very brave." "He was. But you know what he told me later? He said he was terrified. Every step into that fire, he wanted to run the other way. His body was screaming at him to stop. But he did it anyway because that little girl needed him." Jake looked at Lyra. "That is what humans do. We feel fear just like anyone else. Maybe even more than your people. Because we do not have telepathy. We cannot share our burdens. Each of us carries our fear alone, but we still choose to act, not because we are not afraid, but because we decide that some things are more important than our fear." Lyra felt tears forming in her eyes. Valthene rarely cried, but she could not help it. "I was so scared you would die, but I did not. I'm right here, I know. But watching you fight, seeing you hurt, it made me realize something." She took a deep breath. "I think I love you." The words came out before she could stop them. Her skin blazed bright gold and pink and even some red, which was the color of deep passion. She looked down at her hands, embarrassed by her confession. Jake reached out and gently took her hand. His touch was warm. "Lyra, look at me." She looked up, her eyes still wet with tears. "I think I love you too," Jake said softly. "I have for a while now. I just did not know if it was okay to say it. We are from different worlds. Different species. I did not know if you could feel the same way." "We are very different," Lyra admitted. "You are strong and brave. I am nervous and scared of everything." "That is not true," Jake said firmly. "You are one of the bravest people I have ever met." "How can you say that? I cannot even control my skin from showing my feelings." "Exactly. You cannot hide what you feel. But you still go out there and face the world anyway. Do you know how much courage that takes? To be vulnerable every single day? To let everyone see your fear and your joy and your sadness? That is real bravery, Lyra." She had never thought about it that way before. All her life she had been told that showing emotion was weakness. But Jake saw it as strength. "My people think feelings are weakness," she said quietly. "My people think feelings are what make life worth living," Jake replied. "They can hurt, yes. Love can hurt. Fear can hurt. But they also make us feel alive. They connect us to each other. Without feelings, what is the point of anything? Lyra squeezed his hand. Her skin glowed brighter than it ever had before, so bright that the whole room was lit with warm golden light. I was so afraid of you when we first met. I know. I could see it. But you were patient with me. You never made me feel bad about being scared. Why would I? Fear is natural. And you had good reason to be nervous. I am pretty strange looking, I am sure. Despite everything, Lyra laughed. You are not strange. You are beautiful. Jake smiled. You are beautiful too, especially when you glow like that. They sat together in comfortable silence for a while, just holding hands. Lyra felt peaceful in a way she never had before. With Jake, she did not have to pretend to be calm. She did not have to hide her feelings. She could just be herself, glowing skin and all. What happens now? She asked finally. The attackers wanted to prove that humans are dangerous. They wanted to turn my people against yours. Did it work? Lyra thought about it. No, I think it did the opposite. My mother said the humans showed real courage. Many officials are saying the same thing. But there will still be some who are afraid. Fear of the unknown is natural, Jake said. We will just have to show them that humans and Valthine can work together. That we are stronger as friends than we are apart. How? I do not know yet. But we will figure it out together. Lyra smiled. Together. I like that word. 2 months after the attack, preparations were underway for the Grand Summit. The leaders of both species would meet at Concordia Station, a neutral space station that served as a meeting place for many different alien races. The summit would decide the future of human and Valthine relations. Would they become strong allies, or would fear and suspicion drive them apart? Lyra had been chosen to give a speech at the summit. It would be her first major public address, and she was terrified. Every time she thought about standing in front of hundreds of people and speaking, her skin turned bright blue and her hands shook. You will do great, Jake told her. They were in one of the palace study rooms, and he was helping her practice her speech. His injuries had healed completely, though he still had scars that would never fully fade. I cannot do this, Lyra said for the 20th time. Everyone will see how scared I am. They will see my skin turn blue. They will think I am weak. Let them see, Jake said. Let them see that you are scared but doing it anyway. That is what courage looks like. Easy for you to say. Your skin does not betray you. Jake smiled. My hands shake when I am nervous. My voice gets tight, I sweat. Everyone shows fear somehow. You just show it more obviously. That does not make me feel better. Jake took both her hands in his. They had been together as a couple for 2 months now, though they kept it mostly private. Some people knew and approved. Others knew and did not approve. Serana was definitely in the second group. Listen to me, Jake said gently. The speech is good. Your ideas are important, and the fact that you are willing to stand up there despite your fear will show everyone that change is possible. You are proof that Valthine can grow and adapt. Lyra took a deep breath. Will you be there? In the audience? Front row? I will be right there, and if you get scared, just look at me. I will smile at you, and you will remember why you are doing this. Promise? Promise. The journey to Concordia Station took 3 days. The Empress, Serana, Lyra, and a large delegation of Valthine officials traveled on the royal ship. The humans came on the ESS Horizon. When both ships docked at the massive station, Lyra felt her anxiety spike. This was it. This was the moment that would change everything. Concordia Station was huge, built by a species called the Architects thousands of years ago. It had chambers for every type of atmosphere, gravity settings for every known species, and conference rooms big enough to hold thousands. The summit hall was the largest room of all, with a clear dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. The day before the summit, Lyra walked through the hall with Jake. It was empty now, but tomorrow it would be filled with people. The thought made her feel sick. It is so big, she whispered. You will be fine, Jake assured her, but even he looked a little nervous. There had been threats. Not everyone wanted this summit to succeed. Some radical Valthine still believed humans were too dangerous. Some humans thought the Valthine were weak and not worth allying with. Security was tight, with guards from multiple species patrolling the station. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She stood at the window of her quarters and looked out at space. So many stars, so many worlds. And tomorrow, she would help decide if 2 of those worlds would be friends or strangers. Her door chimed. When she opened it, Jake was standing there with 2 cups of something warm. "I thought you might be awake. I brought tea. Human tea, not Valthine meditation blend." They sat together and drank the tea. It was sweet and had a taste like flowers. "It is good," Lyra said. "It is called chamomile. We drink it when we want to relax." "Is it working?" "Not really," Jake admitted. "I am pretty nervous too." "You? But you are always so calm." "On the outside, maybe. Inside, I am worried. There is a lot riding on this summit. If it fails, our peoples might never trust each other. And that would mean you and I," he trailed off, "would not be allowed to be together." Lyra finished quietly. They both knew it was true. Their relationship was already controversial. If the summit failed and relations soured, they would be forced to choose between their love and their duty to their peoples. "Let us not think about that," Jake said. "Let us just focus on tomorrow. You are going to give an amazing speech. Everyone is going to see how special you are." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. Her skin glowed soft gold. "Thank you for believing in me. Always." The next day arrived too quickly. The summit hall filled with delegates from dozens of species. The Empress sat in the place of honor with Serana beside her. Ambassador Chen sat with the human delegation. Jake, Maya, and Ben were in the front row in their dress uniforms, just as Jake had promised. Lyra stood backstage, her speech notes clutched in her shaking hands. Her skin flickered between blue and green. Unable to settle on just one color, she felt like she might throw up. "Princess Lyra?" A staff member approached her. "You're on in 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 120 seconds. Lyra closed her eyes and tried to breathe. She thought about everything Jake had taught her. About courage being acting despite fear. About vulnerability being strength. About being herself, glowing skin and all. "Now introducing Princess Lyra of the Valthine Empire," a voice announced. Lyra walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. The crowd was huge. She could see hundreds of faces looking at her, waiting. Her skin turned bright blue immediately. She heard a few whispers from the Valthine section. They were probably embarrassed for her. She reached the podium and looked out at the crowd. Her vision was swimming. Her heart was racing. She could not do this. She was going to fail. Then she saw Jake. He was right there in the front row, just like he promised. And he was smiling at her. That warm, encouraging smile that had become the best part of her day. Lyra took a deep breath and began to speak. "I am scared," she said, and her voice carried through the hall. "You can see it. My skin is blue, which means fear. I cannot hide it. That is something many of you know about me. Princess Lyra, who cannot control her emotions. Princess Lyra, who is too weak to be a proper Valthine." She paused. The hall was completely silent. "But I have learned something from my time with humans. I have learned that showing fear is not weakness. Acting despite fear is courage. And I am here despite my fear to tell you why our 2 species should become allies," Lyra went on. She talked about human bravery and Valthine wisdom. She talked about how different they were, but how those differences made them stronger together. She talked about Jake saving lives during the attack, about Maya and Ben fighting beside him, about how humans had shown what real courage looked like. And as she spoke, her skin began to change. The blue faded. Gold light spread across her arms, her face, her hands. It was not the nervous gold of embarrassment. It was the strong, steady gold of hope and determination. She was almost done with her speech when the lights went out. Complete darkness filled the hall. Lyra heard screams. She felt the stage shake beneath her feet. Then emergency lights came on, dim and red, and she saw figures moving through the crowd. The attackers had returned. But this time they had come with more people and better weapons. And they were not attacking the humans. They were attacking the life support systems. She saw them placing devices on the walls, devices that would drain the oxygen from the hall. "They cannot breathe without oxygen," one attacker shouted. "The humans will suffocate and everyone will see that they are just fragile creatures who do not belong in our galaxy." Jake was already moving. So were Maya and Ben and the other human security personnel. But there were so many attackers this time, at least 30 of them, all armed with weapons designed to hurt humans while leaving other species unharmed. Lyra watched in horror as Jake was shot in the chest. He fell but got back up. He was bleeding, but he did not stop. He was trying to reach the devices on the walls, trying to stop them from activating. "Someone help them," Lyra cried out. But many of the delegates were frozen in fear. Even some of the security guards from other species hesitated. This was not their fight. Then Serana stood up. Serana walked calmly toward the nearest attacker. Her skin showed no emotion, perfectly controlled as always. The attacker pointed his weapon at her. "Stand back, princess. This does not concern you." "You are wrong," Serana said clearly. "This concerns all of us." She raised her hand and suddenly every Valthene in the room felt her thoughts. It was a telepathic broadcast, something only royalty could do, powerful enough to reach every mind at once. But Serana was not broadcasting her own thoughts. She was broadcasting what Lyra was feeling. She was showing everyone in that hall exactly what her sister experienced as she watched Jake fight. They felt Lyra's fear for Jake's safety, her desperate hope that he would survive, her pride in his courage, her love for him, pure and strong and undeniable. And underneath all of that, they felt Lyra's absolute certainty that Jake was fighting not because he was violent, but because he was protecting people who could not protect themselves. Many of the Valthene delegates stood up. Some of them moved to help the humans. Others used their telepathy to communicate with station security. The attackers found themselves surrounded not just by humans but by Valthene, who had finally understood what real courage meant. Lyra ran from the stage. She did not think about what she was doing. She just knew she had to reach Jake. She pushed through the crowd and found him near one of the oxygen devices. He was badly hurt, blood staining his uniform, but he was still trying to disarm the device. "Let me help," Lyra said, kneeling beside him. "You should get to safety," Jake gasped. "No. We do this together. That is what you taught me." Jake smiled despite his pain. "Okay, the blue wire. Cut the blue wire." Lyra's hands were shaking, but she used a tool from Jake's belt to cut the wire. The device powered down, one safe, but there were 5 more scattered around the hall. Maya and Ben were working on the other devices with help from several Valthene officials who had found their courage. Station security had finally arrived and was subduing the attackers, but time was running out. The oxygen level was dropping fast. Jake tried to stand but fell. He had lost too much blood. "Go," he told Lyra. "Help the others. I will be fine here." "You are not fine." Lyra felt tears streaming down her face. Her skin was bright blue with fear, bright gold with love, and even red with anger at the people who had hurt Jake. Every emotion she had ever been taught to hide was blazing across her skin for everyone to see. "I know I am not fine," Jake said softly, "but those devices need to be stopped. People will die if you do not help. So go, be brave. Show everyone what you can do." Lyra did not want to leave him, but she knew he was right. She kissed his forehead quickly, her tears falling on his face, and then she ran to help with the next device. It took 10 minutes to disable all the devices and subdue all the attackers. By the time it was over, Jake had been rushed to the medical bay. 3 other humans and 2 Valthene were also injured, but everyone survived. Lyra sat in the medical bay waiting room, her body still glowing with mixed emotions. Her mother sat beside her. Serana stood nearby, looking at Lyra with an expression she had never shown before. It might have been respect. "You did well today," the Empress said quietly, "both in your speech and in the fight." "I was so scared," Lyra admitted. "I know. We all saw it. But you acted anyway. That is what your human taught you, is it not?" Lyra nodded, unable to speak. Serana came closer. "I was wrong about the humans. I called them dangerous, they are. But danger in defense of others is not the same as danger for its own sake. I understand that now. Your human warrior showed me that." "He is more than a warrior," Lyra said. "He is kind and patient, and he makes me want to be braver than I am." "He makes you brave by accepting you as you are," the Empress said. "That is a rare gift." The medical bay door opened and a doctor came out. "Princess Lyra, Lieutenant Morrison is awake and asking for you." Lyra jumped up and ran into the medical bay. Jake was lying on a bed, bandaged and connected to several machines, but he was awake and smiling. "Did we win?" "Yes," Lyra said, taking his hand. "We won." "Good, that is good." His eyes were tired but happy. "You were amazing out there. Disarming that device, helping everyone. I am so proud of you." "I learned from the best," Lyra said. Her skin glowed pure gold now, warm and steady. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "With the summit? I do not know. But I think things will be different. Serana broadcast my feelings to everyone. They all felt what I feel for you. They all saw that love between our species is possible. Jake squeezed her hand. What do you feel for me? Everything, Lyra said simply. I feel everything when I'm with you. Fear and joy and love and hope and all the feelings my people taught me to hide. But I do not want to hide them anymore. I want to feel everything, even when it hurts, because that is what it means to be alive. I feel the same way, Jake said. Being with you makes me feel more human than I have ever felt. More real, more alive. They sat together in silence for a while. Outside the window, stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there were their two homeworlds, so different but maybe not so far apart after all. The summit continued the next day. Jake was still in medical recovery, but he watched through a video link. Lyra sat beside the Empress as speaker after speaker stood up and talked about what they had witnessed. The attack had failed to drive humans and Valthene apart. Instead, it had brought them together. The final vote was unanimous. The alliance between Earth and the Valthene Empire was approved. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchange programs were established. A new era of cooperation was beginning. But the real story that spread across both civilizations was not about trade or politics. It was about a timid princess who had learned to be brave and a human warrior who had shown her that vulnerability was not weakness. 6 months later, Lyra stood in the crystal gardens of the palace. She wore a dress that mixed Valthene and human styles, white silk with patterns that glowed like stars. Her skin showed every emotion she felt, bright gold and pink and even some purple, which was the color of deep contentment. Jake stood beside her in his dress uniform. They were about to make their relationship official, the first bonding ceremony between a human and a Valthene. Both their families were there. Ambassador Chen stood with Jake's parents, who had traveled from Earth. The Empress and Serana stood on the other side. Are you nervous? Jake whispered. Yes, Lyra admitted. But that is okay. Being nervous is okay. Yes, it is. The ceremony was beautiful. It combined traditions from both cultures. There were Valthene meditation crystals and human wedding rings. There were telepathic blessings and spoken vows. And when it was done, Jake kissed Lyra, and her skin blazed so bright that it looked like a star had fallen into the garden. Everyone cheered. Even Serana smiled. Afterward, there was a celebration with music from both worlds and food from both cultures. Humans and Valthene talked and laughed together. Maya and Ben danced with Valthene officials. The Empress had a long conversation with Ambassador Chen about philosophy and human poetry. Lyra and Jake stood at the edge of the garden looking up at the night sky. I still cannot believe this is real, Lyra said. That we are really together. Believe it, Jake said, wrapping his arm around her. We fought for this. We earned it. Do you think other people will follow our example? Other humans and Valthene? Some will. Maybe not everyone, but some. And that is a start. Lyra leaned into him, feeling his warmth, his solidness, his presence. Her skin glowed with contentment. I used to hate that I could not control my emotions. I thought it made me weak. But you showed me that feeling deeply is a strength, that being vulnerable is brave. And you showed me that being strong does not mean being hard, Jake said. That gentleness and courage can exist in the same person. We learned from each other. Yes. And we will keep learning. They stood together under the stars, two people from two different worlds who had found in each other something both their species needed. The Valthene learned that feeling emotion deeply was not weakness but a vital part of being alive. Humans learned that strength could be gentle, that protection could be offered with compassion rather than just force. Lyra still got flustered around Jake. His smile still made her patterns flicker wildly. His touch still made her glow like sunrise. But now she did not try to hide it. She let herself feel everything, knowing that those feelings were not a flaw but the best part of her. I love you, she said softly. I love you too, Jake replied. Always. And as they stood there in the garden with their families and friends celebrating around them, with two civilizations beginning a new friendship, and with the infinite possibilities of the future stretching before them, the timid princess and the human warrior knew they had found something precious. They had found each other. They had found acceptance. They had found love. But most importantly, they had found the courage to be themselves completely and without apology. And in doing so, they had shown both their peoples that the greatest strength of all was the ability to feel deeply, love fully, and face the universe with an open heart. The stars shone above them, and somewhere in that vast galaxy, Other people from other worlds would someday hear their story. They would hear about the princess who could not hide her feelings and the warrior who showed her that she did not need to. And maybe, just maybe, those people would learn the same lesson that Lyra and Jake had learned. That being vulnerable is not weakness, that love is worth fighting for, and that the bravest thing anyone can do is to be exactly who they are, with all their fears and hopes and dreams showing for everyone to see. In the end, the timid alien princess had learned to stay calm around the human warrior. Not because she stopped feeling nervous, but because she learned that her nervousness was part of what made her special, and the human warrior had learned that the greatest battles are not always fought with weapons, but with open hearts and the courage to love someone completely different from yourself. Together they had changed their worlds, and together they would face whatever the future held hand in hand, glowing bright with hope.